This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Transformations with Tara Sutphin. Tara Sutphin is the author of Blame It on Your Past Lives, Soul Agreements, and the Abenda Chronicles. Grammy-nominated audios, videos, and MP3 series. You can find these MP3 series now at TaraInsight.com.
Welcome to Transformation with Tara Sutphin. And my guest today is Scott Grossberg, Thinking Magically, and he is an amazing metaphysician. Gosh, you have the Vitruvian Square. You're going to be upcoming. You're going to do so many seminars, right?
Yeah, and Masks of Tarot coming up.
Yes, and so which we have to talk about today, of course. And he's an attorney and a magician. And what is your specialty? Maybe levitating?
I have a number of levitation photos posted on Facebook periodically. Yeah. But I like to ultimately, Tara, tell people I help people create fearless lifestyles.
Yes, that is so cool. I love that. That is what we were all about. Hey, and my co-host and other guest is Jason D. McKean, and he is the voice of over 1 million Om recordings throughout the world, and he also has meditations, and he is the Om Tarot Wizard, and he is here to help people overcome their fear as well. Welcome, Jason and Scott.
Thank you, Tara. Thanks for having me, and Scott, it's great to see you again.
Thank you. It's great to see both of you. Jason and I actually just did a show together. One of my favorite people, and I'm so jealous of his beard. Can't grow it.
Don't be jealous. Okay, you can be jealous.
You better, yeah.
The glory.
If nothing else, just your ability to use it as a backdrop when you hold your keys up to it is phenomenal.
You know what? That works, right?
Absolutely.
It's like it works. Okay.
But thank you both for having me on. It's great to be back.
Well, Jason, when he was little, he since he's my brother, for everybody who doesn't know that Jason is my brother, anyway, he used to always take eyelash adhesive and yarn and create characters with beards when he was young.
I was desperate to have a beard when I was younger. So I would glue on gray hair, yarn, cotton, anything. It all progressed as I became more adept at like the theatrical aspects of it. It was like a desperate attempt at, but now once you grow it, it's like be loud and proud with it, right?
Yeah, it beats spirit gum all to heck, right?
Right, but you should see. We've been at different places where Jason is just revered for that beard. People just go gaga.
It is. It's his signature, and you look at it and you go, I know what he is. I know what he does. I know what he will do.
Right.
Dress for the job that you want.
And there you go.
And I want to be a wizard. And so
there you go. A fearless wizard.
A fearless wizard. So how do you teach people how to be fearless, Scott?
Yes.
Oh, the simple way, and both of you, I think the listeners all know this. All three of us are certified hypnotherapists, and also some of the modality training that I have is in NLP. And I've done a lot of work, as Jason knows, in idiomotor responses, everything from pendulums to the use of the keys and or finger movements, right? Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is, all three of us, when we chat with people, our main goal is to bypass the critical faculty and get to the subconscious where, excuse my language, all the shit goes on. Mm-hmm. And so, Jason, to make it really simple, I'm bypassing critical faculties, all the limiting beliefs, all those things that say I'm not enough, and helping people reprogram their thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's great, isn't it, to help reprogram?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, tarot, as a matter of fact, you mentioned the Masks of Tarot, and thank you for doing that. The Proper Tarot School of Divination, which I run, we're going to do a 4-day adventure, and most of that discussion is how to take the major arcana of the tarot and use it with Jungian psychology, so that you've got thinking, feeling, intuition, and sensation, and use that as a way of overcoming limiting beliefs. So, Jason, it's all part and parcel of that.
Yeah, I love about like the title of it, the Masks of the Tarot. It's like, there are certain cards that indicate when there are masks at play, when something is going on below the surface there. But with your upcoming seminar, does it start this weekend?
No, it actually starts in May. We've got some time. I've just started promoting it, but if people go to the Facebook and they go to the group Proper Tarot, I'll add them to that, and they can see it on there, and they can decide whether the timing works for them. I know Jason and I were joking before, because Jason did a sampler class with Proper Tarot on
last
weekend, and we were talking about the time zone for doing this. There are so many people from all different countries that I've had to tweak everything, and so it's really early in the morning for those of us here on the West Coast, but it's nighttime for those overseas in the UK. And I've even got, as Jason and I joked about, I've got one member who's from South Korea, so he calls us from the future because it's tomorrow for him, which is why Jason and I know everything's going to be okay. There is a tomorrow.
Right.
And I know we have flying cars.
And all my New Zealand people and Australian people. Yeah.
So
everything's tomorrow, the future.
Yeah. So it's fun, but bottom line is all of this is designed to help people take control of their own lives, rather than, I think, any of us saying we know what is good for you, and here's what you must do. And again, with that hypnotherapy background for all of us, or I think as we call ourselves now, at least I've been told to call myself a consulting hypnotist, rather than use the word therapy in the title. Mm-hmm. It's all the same thing, but it's still, people are suggesting consulting hypnotist. So when people see that, that's what it means. It's really the way of uncovering hidden beliefs, hidden obstacles, hidden challenges, something that I think we all do, all three of us do. This is just a little more blatant. It's in your face, and it's like, let's just get to instant transformation.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it is a progression. We just have to keep moving forward. And mind programming is the best way. It is.
Yeah, well, yeah,
go to sleep to it.
Yeah. I've joked for a long time. I haven't joked. I've mentioned for a long time that our current, in my opinion, our current level of education in schools is so inadequate. And if we taught memory techniques and hypnosis techniques and relaxation techniques, mindfulness, etc., in school, particularly now that you've got such a high level of societal anxiety out there. Mm-hmm. And, I've watched it with my grandkids going back to school. They started last week, and that anxiety is up here. Everything from, I haven't had friends for a year, to I don't even know what I'm doing because they're only in school part-time. Then they come home, they have to homeschool. And it's just this giant disconnect. That what a wonderful thing, the three of us, the tools we have, if the schools would embrace this, instead of treating our kids still in the education realm, still like it's an assembly line protocol. We're not making assembly line workers anymore. And I think particularly Tara, you and Jason, I know you guys have skills that if the world can embrace them, it takes that anxiety and worry away and moves us to a better place.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that, kids grow up to be adults, right? And adults will make choices based on, their like immediate needs. And if what's available to them is like, mood enhancing drugs and, like the easy the quick fix, which is really not a fix to it. It's just like it just covers it up. And it's like the getting into a meditative space, being able to relax yourself, to it doesn't take a long amount of time once you know what it is, to slow down your breathing and just relieve your own anxiety in that moment. It's like you're not you're creating a much stronger foundation, again, because it's like when your anxiety goes up, your fear levels go up, your options become limited as to how you navigate this complex, modern day life. And it's like if you learn those basic techniques early on, then you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time with people showing them what's called box breathing, and even breathing into their lower dantian, so that, because we've all learned not to breathe correctly. And I've long maintained that stress, worry, anxiety, fear in particular is something we do, not something that happens to us. We're doing those things. And so there's a lot of physiology to this that, again, whether you're using tarot or you're using hypnotherapy or you're using NLP or you're just talking to somebody and connecting, it's a situation of saying, so Jason, how do you do happiness? And I kind of twist it on them, because I'm a firm believer that we do happiness in order to feel success, not the other way around. We've all learned that if you do something successful, you get the rewards, the accolades, all the external validation, you will feel happy. And I really firmly believe, with all that I do, whether it's tarot reading or consulting, etc., that it's teaching people to do happiness, and it's teaching people to, how about you start valuing your life on how much happiness you have rather than how much money you have in the bank.
Well, and I say that happiness is only a fleeting moment, and you don't get them every day even. It's really satisfaction and fulfillment. So if you're, you can get into the value of your life, you can get into the satisfaction. You don't necessarily have to be on the happy scale, because the happy is like you're partying, it's like it's like eating cake and potato chips. That's happy food, but there's no nutrition in it. So the same thing with happiness. Not to say that I don't like to laugh. I'm known to, have a big laugh and laugh a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like the neighbors know.
Yeah, the neighbors know. You're right. I don't hold back. But the thing is that on that scale, I don't value, I am not holding on to that I had a happy moment. It's that I need that satisfaction of every day in my life, that I'm going forward, helping people in the best way I can. And that's what really brings me the satisfaction. It's not a laugh or a happiness necessarily. It's a satisfaction.
It's kind of interesting that there are actual studies out there now that your emotions, your feelings only last 90 seconds. That's it. We've been told before, count to 10 and the anger will go away. Well, it's not quite true. It's count to 90.
Yeah. 1, 2.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, and this is where the three of us come in to help people and guide them and mentor them and ethically nudge them, is that if the emotion lasts longer than 90 seconds, they've told themselves a story that's keeping it going.
Right.
And so I'm a big fan of the at zero concept. I'm always saying, at zero, there is no story. At zero, you're not in the hero monomyth. At zero, you're not in the drama triangle. And so it's getting people back to what Jason's talking about. It's instantaneous to get to here and now, because even happiness doesn't happen in the here and now. Happiness is something you experienced or something you will experience because you're thinking about it. In the here and now, if you're really there, as fleeting as it is, it's just here and now. There's no story.
I use that example of when you're driving because it's pretty universal. Like if you're just driving along, you're happy as a clam, and like someone like does something, they like cut in front of you or something, and it triggers you to like just react, and then you can start to like fantasize that person like driving off a cliff or something. It's like you get into this place of road rage, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you are able to catch yourself in those first 10 seconds of that, then you won't spin out. You won't just go down that vortex of just that anger where you just hold on to it and you follow that person, and you're just like cursing them out, and then you go into where you're at, and then that becomes your drama for the day, where you're talking, and it's like, and I was just driving, I was just minding my own business, and this person came in, and it's like it becomes like your whole story, right? But if you catch yourself like really early on and say, I see what I'm doing, it's like, I've made that mistake too, I've cut in front of people, and just to take a step back, see yourself, build that awareness of what you are doing, and then let it just dissipate. Just, okay, I don't have to go there, and you continue on your way.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if we all went to that loving kindness, compassion every day, rather than what I mentioned before, that the drama triangle, right? For the listeners, a drama triangle, at least as I learned it in film school, takes place when three things happen. There's a victim, there's a predator, and there's somebody who's going to swoop in and save somebody. And who are you? And if you identify with any one of those three, you're stuck in a story. There are no victims. There are no predators. There is no hero, unless you're all of them. And then that's a much deeper conversation. But yeah, if you're on the freeway and suddenly you've been victimized by somebody, you're right back in that story again.
Yeah. I always think of people are in their own bubbles. Nobody means to do anything, because nobody wants to get, really in a wreck or anything. Everybody needs a lot of protection, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. But what's funny about that is, it's like, if we're able to just kind of like, that's just an example, right? It's just something that, most everyone kind of universally feels, like, because it's such a high risk, like environment, when you're driving and all that. But in relationships, it's like if someone says something to you and you feel triggered by it, it's like you're in that moment, it starts to like kind of, bring up all this stuff, from the past and all. It's like,
what brings in other arguments and other where you feel weak.
Totally. And that's where, like someone else might say, well, all I did was this, why are you bringing up, what I did 20 years ago? It's like, how do you remember that?
Isn't it amazing, the stuff we carry with us? And I've always joked that if you're going to carry that kind of baggage with you, then be prepared for the handling charges.
Right.
Yeah. Well, as a lawyer, I mean, and depending on, what area of law you're in, as far as like, you can see where if there's conflict and if there's a history in like, everything will come up, everything from the past, any kind of grievances or, to be used, to be weaponized. Basically.
I got to tell you, Jason, I was a trial lawyer for over 30 years. And very high profile, high exposure stuff. And sometimes I was brought in and literally given the instruction, you ready for this? Make a point. I was brought in by big companies and told, just go in and make a point. We actually don't care whether you win or lose. Right. They're bullying us on the other side. I was brought in to de-escalate that. In the process of having that career, I was very fortunate to also be what's called a judge pro tem for both Los Angeles and San Bernardino counties, where if a judge was gone on vacation or sick or whatever, I would be the visiting judge. And I will never forget, I think one of my better moments as a judge. I was in the middle of a trial, and we'll call it a family dispute. Mom had died, and here I am listening to both sides, brothers and sisters on both sides of the table. Their lawyers are arguing vigorously for how this estate should be split up. Nobody's talking, and all these grievances from ancestral to transgenerational to immediate problems were coming up. And it's like, I finally stopped them. I took a breath and centered, and bringing some of my own background to this, asked both lawyers, I said, I want to talk to your clients. Okay. I said, without you, we're going to stop the trial, and I don't want you in my chambers. They both agreed. Silly lawyers. They both agreed, and I brought the family into my chambers. And of course, there was that angst and that tension at the beginning, and I kind of did some of my stuff with them. And ultimately, I looked at them and said, shame on you for letting your lawyers do this to you. Shame on them for letting them manipulate you for money. What would mom want? And I'm listening to one side, and they're telling me, and then I'm listening to the other side, exactly the same thing. And then I said, then what the hell are we fighting about? And they said, well, our lawyers never told us that we could do anything different. And I said, I can walk back out onto that bench. We can bring this trial to a close, and I can issue an order that gives you exactly what both of you want. And they kind of sat back, and we did exactly that. And I don't know for sure, but I trust that when they walked out, suddenly they realized that all the stories and all the obstacles and all the challenges weren't real. It was all manufactured, and they held on to this for so long, and they let the lawyers manipulate them. And, there's still good in the world, and I still think people are doing the best they can. When they listen to the bad stuff and they buy into it, then you have problems like that. So I saw a lot of stuff like that, Jason, which is why I left the practice of law, frankly, after 30 years.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're having a happy life. And I'm sure it's really that experience, though. So great. Because it's things like that. You know how to create a solution. That's the solution. Solution was, why were they fighting in the first place?
Yeah. And it's, I think all three of us, again, because of our similar backgrounds, at least I bring to this, I get to wake up every morning and help the world become a better place, rather than wake up every morning and see, what kind of problems can I cause today?
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness, isn't it? Thank goodness. I just love it. I love my job. I know you guys do too. I love it.
It's a feeling at the end of the day. It's like making a difference, right? Making a positive difference, positive change in the world. And, it does begin with ourselves, right? I mean, it's like, because of one's knowledge of their history, it's like you honor your experience, right? It's like you don't diminish, anything that has occurred and all. It's like you look to it as, the path that was your path, and it's led you to a place of, being able to see that and to, take a step up from it and to, look to build that awareness on a much larger scale too, where it's not just in a courtroom or, in a, some kind of, session hall or something, but to make it more global. And thank goodness for the internet, for Zoom, for being able to facilitate this awareness on a much larger scale. It's like we're blessed to be here at this time and to be able to connect with so many people.
I think that's very astute, because at least for me, this last year of living in a bubble, which we've done, right? And I was just telling Tara off the air, my wife and I just moved to a new location, and it's a marvelous, quiet town. And we haven't gotten to see it yet because we moved right before everything shut down.
Oh, no.
And now things are starting to just open up. And what I'm excited to go do, because this is where my family's from and my wife's family is from here. I've got family buried in the local cemetery, right? And
wow, that's wild.
It's one of those things where we feel really balanced where we are. We feel for the first time, I mean, we were at another home. It was marvelous and wonderful. And it wasn't the same grounding that we have here. And I've always likened that to, wouldn't it be wonderful if everybody talked about fearless lifestyles? Wouldn't it be wonderful if the whole world coming out of this bubble would start realizing they are enough? They have enough, they are enough, and the world is conspiring for their own good rather than the fear. And if anything, I think has come out of this last year of bubble living, it's the clarity that I think a lot of people are starting to get because they've been at home with themselves. They've been at home with their dogs or cats. They've been at home with their significant other 24/7, and nobody ever had to live like that before. And so this clarity is coming about. Certainly there are people out there who are afraid still. Certainly there are people who have gone through this personal death awareness. I can tell you personally, I have never cried so much as I have the last year from the loss of people. And but it's also purifying, for lack of a better way to put it, and very transformative.
Yeah. Well, I think that people really still need to get out of the fear zone. The fear zone is, we create a reality every moment, and, we just really have to go forward. And we have to remember, I mean, as Americans, I know that we're worldwide, but, I know it as Americans, we all have the, our ancestors' risk to be here in this country. And we have that within our genetic memory. And it's all about, not being afraid. It's about being, brave. And
yeah, it's funny that you say that, Tara, because I've done a lot of work this last year on transgenerational, epigenerational, and similar DNA studies of how trauma from prior familial, ancestral issues transmits through the DNA down to us. It's a fascinating journey, let's just put it that way. And if any of you have access to some of the shamanistic techniques or shamans themselves who can take you through that ancestral clearing, it's really quite remarkable.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Is that one of the services that you provide, Scott?
I do not. That whole epigenerational, transgenerational concept, I happen to believe, you want to see a niche profession. If you can find a psychologist who also is a shaman, or a shaman who is also a psychologist, it doesn't matter which one it is, because Jason, what I think happens, and I can't speak for everybody, but if you're going to do that kind of exploration, which I've done, I want to trust that there's someone guiding this who also has the tools to handle any abnormal reactions that might come out of it, and or supplement it with other tools like brain spotting or EMDR or things like that. And I don't know that just a shaman or just a hypnotherapist or just a psychologist is so equipped, but I'm willing to bet that if someone got online and looked up that specialty or looked up backgrounds on treating epigenerational or transgenerational challenges, they'll see that. So right. I don't do that because I think it's a specialty that I work on moving people forward. I take people from where they are right now. People come to me and they're afraid. They don't feel that they're enough. They're not creative. They have no confidence. They got a fear of public speaking. You pick the fear, right? I then take them and say, okay, what are we going to do about that? Let's move you forward. Whereas the epigenerational, ancestral clearing, the recapitulation stuff is actually, here's where you are, let's go backwards and clear it out.
Right. Like the regression therapy, past life regression, to where
Now,
I really love some of that. I love it to clear it and then to move on and to let's go pre-program.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I call it past life bleed through. That's a whole, that's a great thing for hypnotherapists to do. Now, in that regard, Jason, what I use a lot of guided visualization if those kinds of aspects come up. But I'm not going to go back to. Right. I'm not going to go back to ancestral trauma out of the pogroms or out of the Holocaust or out of, relocation if you're Native American or things like that, where it's literally honest to God, tribal survival. That to me is something that requires a specialty.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's, it feels like it can be not just a one and done, type of session too, where, someone is really looking to clear that too. It can be multi-layered and, where it's almost like a series of those sessions, so that one isn't just, left with any kind of like, where they're hanging on to any part of that having any question marks at all about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to claim to be a specialist in it. It's something that was interesting for me, and I wanted to explore it and went down that path. And just if I can share a personal story, how this all came about. I grew up. I was never in the army or the military. I never grew up with war. The draft ended when I turned 18. Honest to God,
lucky
I was getting
you.
Ready.
God.
I was getting ready to, the draft is coming up. They ended it right before I turned 18. So I never dealt with that, but I grew up with a father who was in the military, and I heard about the Korean War. My grandparents actually came from Russia and Romania, and I constantly heard from them and their siblings about Mother Russia coming to take us back. And it was a constant fear of that. I heard about my great grandparents in the pogroms, and that how imminent death was. I heard about the Depression, and things that I didn't personally experience. They were stories that were passed on. And then I started doing some studying. And for anybody who thinks that this is out there, I really do invite you, go take a look at what's called transgenerational or epigenerational or ancestral healing. And there were interesting studies done from a DNA standpoint out of the Holocaust, out of World War II Germany. And they then found out higher levels of anxiety, higher levels of et cetera, coming out of people who had never experienced it. It was their grandchildren who were getting it. And then it expanded. You don't have to have simply been, or only been, I shouldn't say simply, that's a disservice, only been in the Holocaust and had family who perished there. This is any tribe who has undergone major persecution or major trauma or major death on any level. It's not related to any age, sex, religion, etc., but it's DNA passed. It's a scientific thing that stuff gets passed on through the egg and the sperm, and it gets wired in you, which is ultimately why I say the work that I do is rewiring people. I'm taking programming that isn't working anymore and rewiring it and rebooting it and redoing it, because other than the two fears that you're born with, right? The fear of loud noises and the fear of falling, you're wired with those for survival. Everything else is learned. And it can be epigenerational. It can be this world. It can be past life bleed through. It can be whatever it is. Somewhere there's a program that isn't serving you well that's running. And whether you're going to move forward with someone like me or you're going to move backwards with somebody through hypnotherapy or psychotherapy or any other mental health professional, it's coming to the realization, I got some programming that's not working for me. I need to debug it.
Yeah. Need some debugging. Well, and we all think that change isn't happening when we're moving 65,000 miles through space. Gravity's the only thing that keeps us on the planet, but we're afraid of change.
And it's interesting that you say that too, Tara, because that's very rarely do I even use the word change anymore, because as soon, at least I find this, I'm sure you guys do as well, as soon as I use the word change with somebody, I will minimally use the term change work, but change, suddenly that reptilian brain and the amygdala kicks in, and that fight, flight, fear, or freeze jumps out.
How to do that?
And says, I don't like change. Nobody likes change. If you're going to talk to me about change, then suddenly all the obstacles come up, which kind of brings us full circle, Jason, to you asking, where's that fearless lifestyle? And it comes down to understanding what all the objections are.
So where like our conscious mind will put up a roadblock right there and say, well,
cape on to keep us warm with our troubles instead of just dropping the cape.
Or Tara, I'll tell you, it's bring on Harry Potter, since Jason's here and looks like Dumbledore. Right. Bring on the cloak of invisibility. How many of our clients come to us and they've learned to be invisible? They've learned to fly under the radar or go off the grid. I love that one. That's the new one that the younger folks that I work with are saying, I'm going off the grid. I was like, why? Live large, right? No, I'm going off the grid. I don't want anyone to see me because I've learned if they see me, there's pain. And we've stopped as a society seeking pleasure. I'm all about pleasure, frankly.
So to, if someone has a roadblock or whatever to a word like change, it's like, do you use something, like easier, like death? No, or something that's like transformation, or something that shows like a progression, because one can kind of change towards something negative, right? But transformation usually has like that kind of butterfly,
that positive aspect to it. I actually use shift a lot, SHIFT, because people are I'm asking them as I go through to notice the shifts that are taking place. I tend to use the SUDS scale. I don't know if you guys know or use that in your practices. SUDS, for listeners, is the subjective units of distress scale. If you went to the emergency room and you were complaining of pain in your right side, the first thing the nurse practitioner or the doctor are going to ask you is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the pain? And then from a subjective level, you'll tell them it's a 9, it's a 2, it's a 3. I turn it around, and some people find it funny. I still use the SUDS scale, but I call it subjective units of delight. And so I want to know where they are as far as fulfilling their lives, with the ultimate goal. And I'll say this on the air with you guys, but I want them at 0, which means they're not on the scale at all. And so at some point in our time together, I actually move them down to, Jason, what you were talking about before, and that's the center of all peace. There are no stories going on. It's only the here and now. And, then we go through the whole Ericksonian, just listen to my voice, let it go with you. And, at the center of all peace, you stand and nothing can harm you there. And suddenly they realize, oh, crap, this feels good.
Yeah.
But it takes a while because, a number of people, including many people have heard of Don Miguel and Ruiz and his 4 agreements. His son has written a very cool book, and I can't think of the name of it at the moment. I think it's called, it might be The Medicine Bag. I can't remember exactly, but look it up. It's Don Miguel's son. And he made a very interesting comment in this book. We are all addicted to suffering. And when you help folks realize that they're suffering because they've agreed to do that at some point in their lives, made that contract with somebody, themselves, a higher power, mom, a spouse, their dog, you pick it, whatever that higher power is for them, they've made an agreement that they will suffer because it's what they think is supposed to happen. And then you give them permission, which again, I think that's what all three of us do. We are really giving our clients permission to be free. And then suddenly they have that aha moment where they say, oh my God, I can do that? Wait, time out. That's an option? I went, yeah, you have permission to be happy. Yes. And in all the years I've been doing this, I've only ever had one person tell me that their biggest fear in life was being happy. Everybody else aspires to it.
Yeah, it might have been their parents' programming, or again that DNA bleed through.
That fear of loss, it's like, oh, I'm happy, and then like it all crashing down.
When is the other shoe going to drop?
Into your responsibilities. Yeah. Yes. So the happy for them, I would say, needs to be. They need to tell you what happy means, because happy obviously wouldn't mean what you're thinking of happy is not what they think is happy.
Well, and again, for me, at least the way I work, when I work with the transformation or shifts that I work with, we'll call it change for today. When I work with the change that I'm dealing with, I'm getting people to do happy. What are the behaviors? And so rather than simply say, on a SUD scale, we do that, but I want to know what the symptoms of whatever's not working for them is creating. I want to know what the symptoms are. I could care less about the cause. That's a different discussion. But for the from a standpoint of calibration and getting to understand what might need to be rewritten in the programming, in the code, and I guess I should digress for a minute. I really do tell clients, Jason, when we talk about what I do, I tell them, you know that movie, The Matrix? Mm-hmm. You know that movie, Inception? You know that movie, Limitless? Those are all documentaries. Yeah. And so I'm giving people permission to have limitless confidence, limitless creativity, limitless love, and limitless excitement. And I can see it on their faces when they say, wait, you can have that? And it's like, yes, you can have that. The question is, do you want it? There's a price for everything. Nothing's free, not even magic. And there's effort that has to be in it. And, one of the biggest challenges for folks in the kinds of professions we're in, it's wonderful for all of us to talk. I've been here blabbering on for almost 45 minutes now. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to have the client implement. And so, Jason, that's where the follow-up stuff comes in. It's like, I'm going to hold you accountable and light a fire under your butt.
It's about the person showing up. That's when the shift becomes the actual shift, when it's not just a permission that one gives themselves to see things in a different way, to see themselves, their relationship with the universe, with how it is that they can move forward, how the blinders are taken off, they've unshackled themselves, they've used the key, to unlock their potential.
They woke up.
But to activate it, to step into that, take ownership, and then operate from that new perception, that new level.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's great stuff, Scott. How can people reach you? I don't know if you have to take off in a few minutes, don't you?
I do. I have another show I've got to do in about 15 minutes. So people can reach me or find out more through thinkingmagically.com. That's THINKING, thinking, and magically, MAGICALLY.com. And everything's on there. I am on Facebook. So if people want to join the Proper Tarot School of Divination, just send an invite to the group, and you'll be able to visit with folks like Jason, who came on and did a sampler class. And the video's still up, so you can see him talk about his key rating, which has gotten phenomenal responses, and people just fell in love with you, Jason. So thank you for being on that.
Absolutely. I totally enjoyed myself. And, it's like I give myself permission to say yes to opportunities when they arise. And,
Wonderful.
my job is to show up, to like, it says to not like say, what did I just do? What did I say yes to?
Well, thank you for saying yes. Thank you for showing up. And I do have to go, but I really appreciate, Tara, both you and Jason inviting me.
Great. And we'll have to talk about the Vitruvian Square upcoming. It's at the 10-year anniversary. Scott has such great divination systems, so we want to talk about those next time. But thank you. And so the Masks of Tarot is coming up for you in May.
Yeah, that's coming up. It's going to be a 4-day adventure. Periodically, I do these little 4-day adventures built around the frameworks that I've created for helping people use, in this case, the tarot. And it's really designed about delving deep into each of the major arcana, what the aspects of them from a personality standpoint are. And then we explore something that I created called the alchemy of human needs, which is an extension of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. But it's something I developed when I was studying philosophy. I've got a degree in philosophy. And so I created this alchemy, which is the hierarchy taken into a more dynamic standpoint with some added attributes to it. So if anybody's interested, they can see that on the Proper Tarot School of Divination as well.
Okay.
It's awesome. Fantastic.
I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Scott. Much love to you.
Be well. Same to you too.
Blessings.
Bye-bye.
Love. Scott's so great.
Wonderful. It's being able to take the tarot too and to look at the philosophical, the psychological, that is like where one can really dive into it as well, and kind of combine the intuitive with those aspects that will really like highlight the whole spectrum there of human experience, from those places of joy all the way to suffering, and help people again move forward. It's all about finding the mechanism, the way for an individual to just kind of see themselves and then see their part in their own life and make that decision to move forward. Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, and I have a hypnotist training starting Monday. If anybody wants to join, it's a certification. So.
And how can people read about it, or?
Yeah, they can. Well, it's on my Instagram.
Contact you.
And it's terrainsight.com. You can go into terrainsight.com, and it's right now. It says, I think on the front page, it's a hypnosis certification. It's an orange button, I think. Yeah. Terra
Insight, INSIGHT.com.
Yes.
Fantastic. I'm going to be doing a chi manifestation with my dear friend and colleague, Tracy Brown.
Oh, Tracy Brown. Yay. I love Tracy.
We're splitting the responsibilities. It's a co-training. So I'll be showing people how to gather chi around them, the spiritual energy. And then we'll both be doing like these sessions. It's like if you want to improve your relationships, if you want to bring in a relationship, if you want to do some self-care, balance chakras, if you want to manifest abundance and all. It's all about, creating this energetic seed.
Well, it's really about feeling your life, don't you think? I mean, it's like feeling your body again and feeling the earth again and kind of clicking in.
It's definitely a clicking in, and it becomes like a sensation that, it's like when I'm creating like this ball here, it's like if I bring it inward, man, oh man, I really feel it. It's like a physical, sensation. And so it's not just
life force,
a meditation, but it is that life force, spiritual energy in your
ancient Chinese, isn't it? Ancient Chinese teachings.
It's Asian in its but it's it's not just pertaining. It's like they found a way to just kind of represent it. And a lot of martial arts, everything from Qigong to Tai Chi and all that, you see like that circular movement, while you're defending yourself or whatever. It's like, you're in that shape, you're recognizing that ball of energy. And this is just a way to bring in a form of meditation that you're able to just choose an area of your own life that you're looking to expand upon. If you're looking just to be in a place of wellness, well-being within yourself, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically. It's a way of grounding yourself just with your breath and, recognizing your environment. And I do it for opportunities. Like, I every night, it's like I'm opening myself to a new opportunity, mm-hmm. and just planting that seed. And I get them all the time. It's like, it's a thing. So
it's a thing.
Yeah.
Well, you're opening up your personal energy. That's what I think mind programming is, because a long time ago, I've found that people who will practice something, they won't practice it themselves. And so it's very important that you do the therapy as well as everyone else. So right. I listen to mind programming every day, every night. I meditate every day. It's important. It's important to do.
Yeah.
Just from the standpoint of, because it's it's a whole balance, in that we all must take for our lives.
Yeah, and you're someone who's on the go a lot. It's like, keeping up your energy.
I know everybody stayed home in the entire world, but I'm sorry to, but I did travel the whole time. I didn't stay home. Yeah. I mean, maybe 3 weeks I was home.
I stayed home.
Yeah.
But I digitally traveled. I've been out all over the world.
Yeah, I have a great, team that takes care of all my animals, and when I'm gone. So, yeah, and I have huge things I'm doing in the world. Transplants. Now hypnotherapy. A baby. I get to be in the delivery room with somebody. I have really fun, amazing things to do with hypnotherapy. So hypnothesia, where, I have an anesthesiologist who will put someone down to whereas I can give, if you're not successful and just need to get there, but you are blocking yourself, or it's same weight, anything. Yeah. Smoking, but any sort of health issues, we put you in hypnothesia.
And just getting past those conscious, like that chatter and all that say, oh, no, I can't do that because of this and this and this and this. It's like you just get past all of those barriers.
Yeah, the bad excuses. Yeah, your blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these things that hold us back.
Yeah, I can embed them into your brain, and to whereas you're not fighting me, you're just doing it, and you just, oh wow, I feel so good. I'm not doing this anymore, and I'm and it's all your suggestions. We go over it.
Right.
There are a few appointments.
So my website, Jason D. McKean, JASONDMCKEAN.com, and on Facebook, Jason D. McKean, and you can see a picture of me that I just posted there with it's an article in a Japanese magazine, Anemone Publishing, and
you're having great fun with the Japanese sessions. I'm so excited.
Doing some tarot channeling and deepening connection to purpose. That's like so important, and I love it. That's the work that is closest to my heart. Yeah. Where are you at?
Yes, tarainsight.com. TARAINSIGHT.com. And we are just having a great time getting ready for the hypnotist training.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I have some great guests, so it's going to be fun.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you for having me on, and Scott Grossberg at thinkingmagically.com. That was like amazing.
Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah, I just love what we're all into. Thank you so much for watching the show. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Scott.
Love you, Tara.
Lots of love.
Thank you for listening to Transformations with Tara. Tara hopes this program brings guidance and insight towards a better tomorrow. If you have any questions or inquiries, or would just like to know more about Tara Sutphin's workshops and seminars or private sessions, please visit her website now at tarainsight.com. Until next time, many blessings.